Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're cracking open a chilling 170,000-year-old cold case. We are going to unpack the bizarre, completely fascinating science behind why humans are the absolute only species on Earth that wears clothes. It's this wild story of primal survival, dramatic climate change, and, believe it or not, an incredibly unlikely microscopic witness that blew this entire mystery wide open. Let's dive right in.
Seriously, take a quick second and look down at what you're wearing right now. Whether you're bundled up in your favorite cozy hoodie, rocking a sharp suit, or just lounging in a plain t-shirt, clothes are an inescapable part of being human. We cover ourselves constantly, but it absolutely wasn't always this way. For millions of years, our ancient ancestors walked the earth completely exposed to the elements, exactly like every other animal out on the plains. So you really have to ask yourself, what changed? When did an early human first look at a thick animal skin and think, you know what, I should probably wear that? And maybe the even bigger question, how do we actually prove the exact timeline of when this fashion revolution happened?
Well, before we can figure out why we started wearing clothes, we kind of have to solve a different puzzle first. Why did we lose our built-in winter coats to begin with? I mean, look at our closest living relatives, chimpanzees, gorillas. They're covered head to toe in this thick, protective hair. But flashback to about 1.2 million years ago, our early hominid ancestors were evolving on the incredibly hot, sun-baked savannas of Africa. To survive, and especially to hunt in that sweltering heat, they had to run massive distances without overheating. So evolution stepped in and gave us a superpower, sweating. But to actually sweat efficiently and cool off, we had to ditch the heavy fur. We officially became the naked apes.
Now, becoming a hairless, sweating predator, brilliant evolutionary strategy for the heat of Africa, no doubt about it. But there was a major catch. Because as the human brain grew and our population started expanding outward into Europe and Asia, they ran straight into a terrifying new enemy they were totally unprepared for, the unforgiving, brutal cold. They had literally walked right into an ice age, and they did it without a fur coat.
Obviously, they desperately needed to stay warm, and we know they eventually figured out how to use animal skins to do it. But for decades, scientists were stuck in what they call the archaeologist's nightmare. Basically, the timeline of our past has this massive, frustrating gap. See, stones, bones, cave paintings, those things can survive buried in the dirt for literally millions of years. But the oldest preserved clothing we've ever found, it's incredibly recent in the grand scheme of things. We've got the famous Tarkan dress from Egypt, which is only about 5,000 years old. And then there's Ötzi the Iceman, that famous frozen mummy found in the Alps, wearing leather and grass. He's only 5,300 years old.
So, why this huge gap? Well, it comes down to one really simple, really annoying fact. Clothes rot. Early clothing was entirely organic, animal hides, plant fibers, fur. In normal environmental conditions, that stuff just disintegrates completely within a few decades. It leaves absolutely zero trace behind. So, without physical clothes to actually dig up, scientists hit a total organic dead end. The trail was ice cold. I mean, how are you supposed to find proof of ancient clothing when the evidence itself has literally vanished into the earth?
Okay, so here's where the story gets really good. The answer finally came, but from a completely unexpected direction. In the early 2000s, this dead end wasn't broken by archaeologists digging out in the field. Nope, it was broken by geneticists staring through microscopes. They found their prime suspect in the unlikeliest, and honestly, the grossest of places: human lice. Yeah, those tiny, irritating little bugs actually held the key to unlocking the greatest mystery of human fashion.
The biological clue hidden here is it's nothing short of genius. So humans are unique because we play host to two very distinct types of lice: head lice and body lice. Head lice, they evolved to live specifically up in the hair on our scalps, gripping onto the round shape of human hair. But body lice are a fundamentally different beast. They don't live on the skin, and they don't live in human hair. Over time, they have uniquely adapted to live, hide, and lay their eggs entirely inside the woven fibers of our clothing. They only ever migrate down to our bare skin when they need to feed, and then they retreat right back into the fabric.
So think about what that actually means. It leads to this absolutely mind-blowing deduction. Body lice simply could not exist before clothing existed. They literally require fabric as their natural habitat. They are quite literally an evolutionary byproduct of human fashion, which means these tiny parasites are the ultimate witness to our past. If scientists could just figure out exactly when the body louse evolved into its own species, they would know exactly when humans started wearing clothes on a regular basis.
To pull this off, scientists at the University of Florida decided to dig deep into the DNA of both head lice and body lice.
They use this fascinating genetic technique called a molecular clock. It works like this. Because DNA mutates at a pretty steady, predictable rate over time, scientists can essentially count the genetic differences between two related species to calculate precisely when they split off from a common ancestor. By reading those mutations, they were basically decoding a biological timer to find the exact moment the body louse became a brand new species adapted just for clothes.
The DNA results from the lab were staggering. The molecular clock pointed to a highly specific, undeniable era. Exactly 170,000 years ago. This finally gave science the definitive, hard answer it had been desperately searching for. Exactly 170,000 years ago, early humans began wearing clothes so consistently, day in and day out, that a completely new parasite evolved for the sole purpose of living in them.
But wait, it gets even better. What makes this date so incredibly compelling is what happens when you cross-reference this DNA timeline with ancient climate data. It aligns perfectly. 170,000 years ago corresponds exactly to the onset of the second-to-last major ice age. The world was literally freezing over. To survive those plummeting temperatures, early Homo sapiens and Neanderthals were forced into a corner. They had to adapt. They started hunting massive, dangerous animals, not just to eat their meat, but to literally steal their fur, replacing the natural coats we had evolved away millions of years prior.
So, what did those very first outfits actually look like? Well, spoiler alert, it certainly wasn't haute couture. The technological evolution of ancient tailoring happened in a few distinct stages. Step 1 was pure, basic survival. Thick, raw animal skins just haphazardly draped over the shoulders or tied loosely around the waist. But humans are relentless innovators. Eventually, throwing a rawhide over your shoulder just wasn't cutting it against the freezing wind. So, for Step 2, archaeologists found these ancient tools called awls. They were sharp, pointed stones or bones used specifically to punch holes in tough leather. And then, jumping to about 40,000 years ago, we see Step 3, a massive, massive leap in clothing tech, the invention of the delicate bone needle. Humans started precisely cutting hides to fit their unique body shapes, tightly sewing them together using animal sinew as thread.
That transition, going from just draping a skin over your back to actually wearing tailored, fitted clothing, it was a monumental game changer. It allowed early humans to trap their body heat with incredible efficiency. Armed with this new technology, they could survive the harshest, most punishing winters imaginable. It meant they could confidently march across frozen, desolate land bridges and systematically expand outward to populate the entire varied globe. Without the invention of fitted clothes, vast portions of our planet would have remained completely, literally inaccessible to our species.
So from shivering and just trying to survive the bitter, biting cold of a prehistoric ice age to eventually expressing our unique identities and cultures through complex fashion, the invention of clothing permanently changed the trajectory of human history forever. We lost our natural fur out on the hot African plains, but through sheer ingenuity, we gained the unprecedented ability to adapt to literally any environment on Earth. And we honestly have the DNA of a tiny, totally annoying, microscopic bug to thank for helping us uncover that entire incredible story.
If you found this journey as fascinating as I did, make sure to engage with this explainer. But before you head out, I want you to think about this. If a tiny parasite can rewrite the entire history of human clothing, what other everyday habits of ours are secretly being dictated by the microscopic world? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and tell me what cold case historical mystery we should crack open next. Stay curious, everyone.